everybody, it's Mark Dolfini, Landlord Coach. I hope you're having an awesome day. It is always good to see you guys. And here we are again. I guess we're calling this the Landlord Coach Show for no other reason I don't even know. I need to come up with a really cool name because I keep saying that and I have no idea what to call this. But anyway, really what I'm doing is I'm helping to promote some people that are in my network because, again, real estate is a people business. There's no way of getting around that. People think it's about bricks and sticks. And honestly, it's really about the relationships that you deal with, that you've built and work on with people. And my guest tonight is someone that I consider a dear friend, Kristen Murney. She just has an eye for organization and just an eye for stuff that I just don't have an eye for. So this is, she's in the real estate space, but also in a very unique way. And I would love to have her tell you a little bit about herself. But Kristen Murney of 10 by Kristen, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Mark, for having me on the Landlord Coach Show.
Sure, we'll call it that. Why not?
Okay, I can help you with a name later. I wasn't prepared for that tonight. So.
Well, why not? We'll call it whatever we need to call it for tonight. So that's the really cool thing. So Kristen, you do staging, right? You help with staging. You help with the visual appeal of a real estate product, basically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I call what I do home staging consulting because my specialty is actually working with what people have in their homes. So I go into typically occupied homes for people that are getting ready to put their house on the market and tell them what they need to do to get it ready and give them, room by room, starting on the outside and then working our way in room by room of instructions of what they need to change, what they need to declutter, depersonalize, what they need to move around. Sometimes we get into painting and carpet cleaning and things like that. But my specialty is really working with people that are going to still be in the home while it's on the market. I do actually more frequently than I realize sometimes. I do vacant homes with help in terms of what our buyer is going to be looking at. If you were walking into the space and there's clear stains on the ceiling, that's something that I would probably say in a vacant home, you really need to fix that because you're going to get objections and inspection issues with that sort of stuff. So I do actually do a decent amount of vacant home consultations. A lot of those I do kind of virtually because people can send me pictures of the empty house and I can be like, hey, this stands out to me. I can see that the countertop is really messed up in this room, or the flooring looks like it needs to be cleaned or resealed or something. So there's a good mix of occupied or unoccupied homes, but my specialty is occupied. And I tell a lot of the realtors that I work with that I'm the one who comes and spreads bad news, but puts like glitter on it and tries to make it get a positive spin to tell people what's wrong with their house, but make them feel okay with the fact that, like, hey, you're trying to impress somebody else. You're trying to get somebody else to want to buy this house. So I put a positive spin on it and help them get the house ready to go so that it sells faster and for more money.
Right. And this is where, like, I think people, especially real estate investors who are known to be misers and curmudgeons with money, and of course there's other people who, even if they're trying to sell their personal residence, even more so, these people have an emotional attachment to this house. Like, as you're looking at the little notches of little Timmy when he was only this tall, now Timmy's this tall, and like stuff like that. Like, like you're talking about depersonalizing a house. Like I would feel kind of bad about painting over that, like I don't want to paint over Timmy's memories, but I don't know Timmy, I don't know Timmy.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, and it's a difficult conversation sometimes, especially with people that have those notches drawn or carved into door frames. I have to talk them through the fact that this is amazing that your family has grown up here and you have records of it. And, there are ways for you to keep that record, be it as simple as taking a photograph and having Timmy stand next to it again, as a final, like, even letting Timmy paint over it, because you guys are getting ready to start a new chapter in a new house. and you want the next family to move into this house to feel like it's theirs and that they can start their chapters. So having somebody else's notches on the wall really doesn't make the house feel like it could be somebody else's. And that's really what real estate is about, is trying to make that house emotionally connect with a potential buyer. Like, you want that potential buyer to go, oh my gosh, I can see my stuff here. That, you know, I have a real estate license myself, and I've been in that position of like taking people into homes and showing them homes. And you can kind of see it in their eyes sometimes, like the oh, this one's neat, I like this feature, oh, this is really cool. But the minute that they're like, oh, my piano will go here, and oh, but the dresser will here, like, when they start putting their furniture in, that's when the emotional connection happens. And that's what home staging and, you know, the depersonalizing and decluttering your house to get it ready to sell is all about, is to make sure that that next family can picture their stuff in there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a difference of not only, now right now we're in a very, very hot seller's market. So it's really not that hard to sell stuff. But I will tell you, you know, as an investor, now, again, I'm just saying, let's just look at it from the practical perspective. Would it make sense? And would it make sense to spend $300 or $400 to make 4,000? Yeah. The math
100%. Yeah.
all day long.
Yes.
I'll take 2 of those, right? All day long.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, you know, you have different pricing based on whatever it is you do, but quite frankly, does it make sense to spend that to make more? Obviously. Well, and that's where I think that the real estate investors, especially from that side, where, you know, and really now you don't bring the furniture, like you don't have that, but you do consult with them and point out things like, hey, look, this room is small and you've got it painted a really dark color or whatever. And I'm like, man, I don't know. That's the cheapest paint they had at Lowe's, right?
You're it was on the clearance rack because somebody else didn't want it.
You're going to be the one that's going to say, okay, that's fine. Maybe leave that one wall as an accent wall. Mm-hmm. If you're really that tied to that color, but it makes the room look way too small. And the house is only 800 square feet as it is. You're battling uphill, right? Yeah. You're going to have that you're going to have that uncomfortable conversation as a consultant. Mm-hmm. So, right? I mean, that's
what you do. But I sprinkle glitter on it and make it a happy conversation. I try. But no, when it comes to especially vacant homes, the emotional connection is a little harder to do with vacant homes. I guess in terms of, you know, what I was talking about before of making sure that your pictures are taken down and the decluttering, depersonalizing aspect of it. When it's a vacant home, it's either going to connect with the potential buyer emotionally or it's not. But you need to make sure on a vacant home that you are eliminating any and all objections that your potential buyers are going to have. So if they are starting to connect with it emotionally, and then they suddenly start seeing those spots on the ceilings or the flaws or the, you know, they walk into a bathroom that's painted like practically black or a dark purple, and it's suddenly like, that emotional knee-jerk reaction happens in those situations. So when it comes to vacant properties, I have in more than one situation suggested, and I have companies here in town that I can refer out to. And when it's out of Indianapolis, if it's outside of Indianapolis, I certainly have the ability to help people research companies that do home stagings in their area. But I have recommended bringing in at least a minimal amount of furniture, especially for awkward spaces that you can't really, I can picture where you would put things, but not a lot of people do that. And so sometimes it's easier to say, well, let's just get a small sofa and a coffee table and maybe like a fake TV setup in this corner. There are little things that you can do to help the buyer visualize themselves and their stuff, like just a few pieces of furniture, or even I know you love this word, we've talked about it before, but the zhuzh, which I have now learned how to spell.
That's right. So because I think I put a number 7 in there. I was
there was a 7. I still have my notes. You spelled it with a 7, but you were close. If you had just taken that 7 out, it's spelled ZHUZH. And zhuzh to me just means putting that extra touch. You know, I originally heard it with the terminology of zhuzhing your sleeves. So like zhuzhing up your sleeves like this. But like zhuzhing your scarf and making it fluffy, or zhuzhing the pillows on your couch. So that's how I applied it. I don't know if that's accurate. I like the word. So adding the little zhuzh to a vacant property with some hand towels, or a welcome mat, a shower curtain, little things that you can, simple additions that you can make that are very inexpensive, that help soften the space and give it more of a lived in feel. Even if you don't bring the furniture in, those little soft touches kind of help, I guess, make people feel warm and cozy.
Right. Yeah. And that's such a big difference. I mean, I will tell you, especially if you've got a house that's just an awkward house. You know, I've got a property that's going to be listed here soon, and it was a shotgun style house. So it's got a center room that's got a walk-through room, but I made that into an actual bedroom. Well, the problem is it makes that center room pretty small by today's standards. So it's only 8 by 10. So it does make it small, but the rest of the house is not that big, but it's super functional. There's lots of different things. And it's like, again, it's one of those typical shotgun style houses with a 9-foot ceiling. You're like, why in the world did they make these ceilings so high? Like, what were they trying to accomplish, right? But again, just very inefficient use of space. But honestly, you know, as I'm looking at the property, I know I don't have that ability to judge with or without the number 7. So I need to have someone else look at it to say, okay, yeah, you got to put bushes in the front. Like, and I'm thinking, okay, sure. So what else does it need? And all the stuff that outside of the mechanical stuff that's actually going to add value, maybe not necessarily from a dollar per dollar perspective. Like, okay, if I add, you know, like I always drives me crazy with these flipping houses show where it's like, oh, adding in, you know, fenced yard adds $7,000 to value. Like, it doesn't happen that way. What does happen though is it increases the marketability a lot of times. When you're spending that time, again, less days on market, when you've got holding costs, vacancy is a real expense. And the better you can manage vacancy, whether you're renting a property or whether you're selling a property. You know, again, I'm a buy and hold guy. But I know that if I'm showing a property and it's not showing well because it smells like dogs, or there's just too much crap in there from the previous resident, a lot of times we'll just pull it off the market, wait for it to be emptied out and cleaned it up a little bit, because it's just not going to rent well. It's just
absolutely. Yeah, the investors that I work with, it's all about the bottom line, and it's not just about the cost of the paint. It's about the cost. If you don't invest in that minimal cost of paint, how long is this going to sit here? Because the insurance, the overhead, the payments, the taxes, all of that you have to keep paying is costing you money. So isn't it better to put a little bit more in and expand your buyer pool, and expand the competition, and maybe get more than one offer, right. Get the price that you're hoping to get? Because if it sits on the market from a real estate standpoint too, you know, realtors are going to look at that. If your house has been sitting on the market for 45 days versus, you know, these other houses that are selling for within 10 to 12 days or whatever, right. And you're sitting there at 45, other realtors, when they're showing that home, they'll probably tell their clients, hey, well, it's been sitting here for a while, so we can probably negotiate on this price. So you need to be proactive and get that house set up for success in the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah. Start out with your best pitch forward. Don't put it on there, see what sticks. You know, especially if you're dealing with retail buyers, and if you're a fix and flipper I know a lot of fix and flip people that you know, follow me. You know, if you're dealing with retail buyers, these are emotional buyers. I mean, these are the people that you really need to be out in front of. And again, if you know, doing these small things makes a big difference. And again, for a few $100 investment in that, if you know you don't have an eye for it, if you think you do and you probably don't, I mean, it does, you definitely got to have an eye for it. And I will say this, you said something here that that the velocity of money loves speed. And when you know, if you want more money, you've got to be able to get these things turned and get them on the market, hit it hard. and hit it with your best pitch. Don't meander. Don't take, for a long period of time. Now, we're getting a little bit long on time here, so I want to just so how do you work with people? How does that look? What does that look like? I mean, because you do some stuff remotely as well, right?
I do, especially now. I don't, as we're recording this, we are in the midst of the shelter in place for COVID-19. Yay, 2020.
There might be a COVID 2.0. Hopefully there's not a COVID 2.0.
Yeah, no, please, no. So yeah, everything that I'm doing actually right now is virtual. The only thing that is hard for me to do virtually is color consultations, where somebody wants to actually paint a color to match something, because I cannot tell on your screen virtually what actual paint color in my hand on my color wheel is going to match that unless I'm there in person. That's impossible to do virtually. Right. But I can tell you virtually, like, oh, hey, that purple room really needs to be a different color, and here are some neutral colors that I suggest off of my color wheel. And so I can give you the neutralizing paint consultations, and especially for vacant properties, to say like, hey, white trim, and this is a great base color to go through the majority of the house, and then maybe do an accent here and an accent there with these colors. So that's really simple to do virtually. The easiest way, it's funny, I've been running all of this off of my television and my computer combined. So what's great is if somebody can send me photos ahead of time of what the space looks like, either listing photos from when it was previously listed, or pictures that they've taken of the property. I can look at the pictures here, but then I can also look up at my television and watch them giving me a tour of the property. And with doing it that way, I can kind of see and get a better feel for the space and tell them like, okay, if it's an occupied property, I can see the listing photos from the last time it was listed, and hey, this couch looks a lot better in that corner, so I think that we should move it over here, because that's what they did in the previous listing pictures, and it looks pretty good there. So sure. It just depends upon what the client's needing at that particular point in time. So home stagings and like be it occupied or a vacant property are pretty easy to do virtually. But of course, I used to do eminent domain work for the state of Indiana. I was real popular taking people's homes to put up highways. So that's why I don't do that anymore. But wow. I traveled all over the state of Indiana. So for me, I am willing to travel if you're within a certain radius of me, and it's reasonable for me to do that. I'm happy to travel to do an in-person consultation. I mean, if you're willing to pay for a flight to Hawaii, you twist my arm, I'll go in person. But it's easy to do virtually too. So that's right now how I'm kind of working with things, and I can work with obviously the owners of the property. If it's somebody who's getting ready to sell a vacant house, that maybe it used to be a rental property and they've decided to flip and sell it, I'm more than happy to help them get that property sold. But maybe they are wanting to sell a rental property that's occupied, and they need somebody to talk to their tenants to help their tenants kind of judge the place and make it look a little more sellable. I actually just did one of those a couple of weeks ago here in quarantine, that I was able to help them get the house, like look at the pictures and tell them like, hey, you need to take down all the pictures in these places. And I'm more than happy to be that face that tells people what they need to do, but does it with some sunshine and rainbows and glitter to make it all seem okay. So that's really, I think that's the bottom line of what I do and do pretty well, is to make people understand and feel positive about what they have to do to get the house sold. So
right. And that's great, because again, at the end of the day, it's a people business, right? There's no getting around that. That's just what this is all about. So you're going to share with us a few photos of stuff that you've judged and pre-judged. Whatever. We're just making stuff up here. But so if you can, I will flash those up on the screen. But what I'm going to say, and I know that Kristen would absolutely not say this, but I'm going to say it for her, is that you need to respect her time. If you're an investor, or even if you are not an investor, or if you've got somebody that, if you've got a house, and again, maybe it makes sense to fly her in to Hawaii if you've got $1 million house that you're trying to sell. honestly, the investment would be well worth it, because again, having that home staged properly and in the right way, I'm telling you, it matters. It really does matter. The days on market are less. You'll get more money. I mean, again, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, but I mean, again, if your property is priced well, it's presented well, it's going to sell. That's just basically how that goes. So, so what I would say is, I know we're gonna get your contact information here up in front of everybody here in just a second, but what I would say is, yes, she will absolutely give you consultations, and she probably will give away more than she probably should. But I'm just going to say this as a coach, and I say this as a coach, accountants run into this problem, lawyers run into this problem, doctors run into this problem, is that as consultants and as coaches and stuff, we get a lot of people who just come to us that want a lot of free information. I get it. There's a part of that. And Kristen especially has a very giving heart. She would probably literally give her last, I don't think she'd give her last glass of wine away, but she would definitely give away the shirt off her back just to help somebody out. But you've got your priorities in order.
Right.
But but what I would say is, just make sure you are being respectful of her time. And again, a lot of times if I'm calling someone like her, if I'm calling my attorney, if I'm calling my accountant, I will say, hey, we exchange pleasantries, and then it's like, okay, hey, we got to talk business. If you need to start the clock, go ahead. Remember that, because if you treat them well and treat them like a professional, it will come around in so many different ways that you won't even understand. I mean, if you're just trying to get something over, I mean, it's not going to come back to you. Just make sure you're respecting their time, and they will respect yours. Okay. So Kristen, how do people get in contact with you?
Well, you can get in contact with me a number of ways. Phone number is 317-690-7867. That's my work cell phone, and you can reach me anytime by phone or text on that. And then I have a website at 10bykristen.com. So that's TENBYKRISTEN.com. I always tell people I'm Kristen with 10 by Kristen, and I'm here to make your space a perfect 10. So I'm reinforcing how to spell my name. So 10 by Kristen, or 10bykristen.com, which is also my email, 10bykristen@gmail.com.
Okay, very good. So I will put that up on the screen so people can get a hold of you. But really appreciate taking the time today. I always enjoy chatting with you. We've known each other for quite some time. You know my bride very well.
Yeah.
I just really appreciate your approach to business, your approach to just life in general. I really trust that anybody that contacts you, you're going to take really, really good care of. So that's why I had no problem with you coming on the show and interviewing you. Just really appreciate the way you do business. So thank you again. So as we wrap up tonight, for those of you who are interested in taking your real estate business to the next level, and you're just wanting to kind of dangle your feet into the time wealthy nation and looking at a membership, I would encourage you to go to the site. It's landlordcoach.com/members. And that will tell you, you can go in there and learn about something like the 6-module mini course about how to get started in real estate, or whether you're looking to buy your first rental or your next rental, whatever it is, it's going to teach you different things about underwriting that most people screw up. It's going to teach you about things that even the bankers don't know, stuff about different credit scores, the front-end ratios, back-end ratios, things like that, becoming a desirable borrower, looking to invest in the right properties, picking the right asset class. You don't want to pick an asset class that is going to require such a high degree of maintenance that's going to attract residents that are a very high degree of management. So you want to make sure that that's all in alignment. And then, of course, making sure your acquisition strategies, your disposition strategies are all in alignment. That's all stuff that's in there. And there's a host of other stuff that's in there under a membership, where you can get access to the group coaching call replays. It's super cheap, and you can check that out at landlordcoach.com/members. Okay, that's all I have for tonight. Please remember to place a value on your free time, because if you don't, someone else will. And most important, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have a great rest of your night. Kristen, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again next time.